This episode of the What's Happening Delco podcast is sponsored by Delco Meets for Business. Check us out on Meetup at Delco Meets, the number 4 business, and attend one of our incredible networking events. Be sure to register, and we'll see you there. What's happening, Delco? I'm Rich Shane, and welcome to the What's Happening Delco podcast. Today I'm joined by Brandon Wyche, photographer. Brandon, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Brandon, specifically, you're a photographer, but there are areas of photography that you specialize in. What are those areas?
So the areas that I specialize in is commercial photography. I do product, on figure, and advertising work. And I think the biggest thing about photography is it's almost like a doctor. You wouldn't go to a podiatrist for your heart. So at a certain level, people do start to specialize, and you want to find the photographer that meets your particular needs.
How did you get started in photography?
Photography was a career change for me 11 years ago. I used to be a real estate investor. I owned a couple restaurant bars, and I wanted to get the creative side of myself back because when I was younger, I was an artist, and I made a career change, picked up the camera, and haven't looked back since.
Some of those experiences, when you haven't looked back since, you're in that moment and you feel that rush that this is where I'm supposed to be. Talk about some of those experiences where you're doing your photography work and you feel that.
That's a great question. So I think whenever you're creating art, you really feel it when the client's happy and you're hearing them cheer as the images come in. Or another example is, I was riding down 76 and I almost crashed because I looked to the right and I saw the billboard of an image that I photographed for Temple Fox Chase Cancer. And it's just like these things happen so fast because you're working all the time and you're doing emails and you're retouching photos. Those times where you really get to appreciate and see your work in the wild, it's really big moments.
I like how you characterize that as seeing your work in the wild. And I probably passed by that billboard at a time when I didn't even know that was your work. So that is really exciting and fun. And yeah, when you see that out there, you're like, that's my stuff. That's what I did. And that to me, that must bring such joy and such appreciation.
It does. And it also lets you know like your stuff has purpose because as artists, and this is something great that a fellow photographer once said to me, you can be a photographer and not make a dime. Like money does not define if you're an artist or not, or if you're a creative. But the few of us who are crazy enough to say that we want to get paid for our art, that's where it's always the challenge of blending art and commerce together. And to successfully do that, it's a very rewarding thing. And it's not something that everybody that is set out on this path has done. So you have to really be aware of that and be appreciative for it.
You gave a little bit of an overview. Speak more to the detail. Some of the clients you've worked with, I know you mentioned Temple, but speak towards more of the detail. Some of the clients that you're working with to give the listener an idea. Okay, I can hone in on that. You're speaking to me, or I know people that do that I can connect you with.
So, whenever, anytime you do like a rattle off for your client list, you want to do the heavy hitters and the big names and things like that. And people go, ooh and ah, but that's not the bulk of what I do every day. So my larger clients are Deloitte, Temple, Cube Smart, L'Oreal, Untuckit. These are some of the larger names that you would know, but every day I'm helping businesses out and helping people with their branding sessions. I'm helping people sell items online through e-commerce and things like that. Like I have a client that just shipped me a bunch of sweatshirts and I'll go in my basement and photograph those and they'll put them on their e-commerce website and they'll try to sell them. So those are the bigger clients, but on a day to day, I'm working with clients of all sizes, if that answered your question.
It did. And you said something very important. It's about branding and the way you help capture people's branding and the intention of what they're looking for. When you review a client or you talk about taking photographs of some of their products, what are some of the mistakes that you see overall out in the world, the people, little things that you could obviously make this adjustment and make it look better, or areas where you excel at, that this is why you help things pop, you help people grab attention, and that's so important, that attention to people's branding.
That's another great question. And that's back to the part of like selling art is very hard because everybody doesn't value it and everybody doesn't need it. You know, sometimes you can have a successful t-shirt or a successful golf shirt brand and it's just you taking photos in front of a mirror or you giving the photos to influencers to create content for you and you post it. So you have to have a budget and a value for high level photography. And when I would say personally for me, when I shop and I'm spending 50, $60 or whatever, I can look at an image and say, this visually looks cheap and doesn't seem like it lines up with the price. So I would say if you're selling a good and you need the imagery to line up with the price point and resonate with clients, then you may want to look into professional photography services, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. And
'Cause, you know, I'm sorry to cut you off, Rich,
no, that's
but like
okay. No, it, it makes
a
it makes
great
perfect sense.
example is like you're in real estate, and this is something that you see a lot. Real estate real estate agents, they'll tell you to go in there, use a 17 millimeter lens, which is super wide, and they want you to shoot everything wide and get everything in one shot, and it looks like the Millennium Falcon. Like it's just like, and whereas though when you look at a interior designer or a cabinet maker or a architect, they're going to have a better image than your average real estate sales. And real estate sales can only support a certain price point because the real estate photographer is doing 15 houses a day and these images don't last long, they don't need to live long. But that architectural photographer or that cabinet maker, they need a more artistic, detailed image that creates emotion and implies luxury and all these other things. So you have to know what you have to know what amount of money to spend on particular visuals.
I am so glad that you brought it up that way. And as a real estate agent, I'm not going to give direction, me personally, to a photographer that I work with, because essentially I'm hiring that photographer because of their experience, because of their knowledge, because of the way they look at things. And what's important to me is you're right. Once the house goes on the market and goes under contract and settles, those photographs may stay out in the world in perpetuity, but they don't carry the same value as they did when the house came on the market. And to me, what's most important about what those photos should represent is connection. You want people to be able to see themselves in that space and say, you know what, I want to see this house now because I just want to see for myself the feeling I'm going to get when I'm in that space. And you're right, not too many of us have been in the Millennium Falcon, so I don't know what to experience when I'm there. But sometimes those photographs look like you've you went into an aquarium and you're swimming in an aquarium rather than living in a space or seeing a home.
Yeah, and I think that's partially because of the wide angle lens. Like when I'm on Airbnb or when we purchase our house here, I just remember looking at the photos like this room can't be that big. Like, you know what I mean? You're just like, it can't be that big. And you have to go view the place. But if real estate photography home sales was a little different, maybe different lenses would be used to give a better perspective of the actual size of the room. So I don't know. It's tough.
And as I tell people, the not to get too far off subject, but they're not going to show you the worst of the house. They're going to try to find the
Exactly.
best of the house, just like
Yeah.
you will with your clients and the products and all those things. How do people connect with you? How do they find you and say, you know what? I really relate to everything you're saying today, and I want you to come out, talk to my business, talk to our company, and let's get started on that brand and what you can do to give our company that major wow factor to what we're looking to do.
Yeah, so you can find me online at whitestudios.com. I'm also on social media, Instagram, the same way, whitestudios.com, and all my information is right online. Feel free to reach out. I love, even if you're not hiring me at this moment, I do love coming in and just talking to businesses and saying where your imagery can go in the future or where it's at now, just giving you like a audit. So I'm always interested in talking about art, reviewing art, and just seeing how knowledge helps everybody get better. Because a
And
lot of times, what I find with small businesses or even larger businesses, people just don't know. And it's like, if you don't know, how can you fix it? So the more I can talk to people, the better.
Wyche is Wyche.
Correct.
Make
Yes.
sure we get that correct. After 11 years, I'm sure you've garnered inspiration. Things have resonated for you. Who inspires you? Who motivates you?
For me, it's people. I primarily photograph people. So if I was not getting paid, I would still be very interested in people. And that comes from my background, just always talking and hearing people's stories and connecting with them. And I've always been attracted to beauty. So I can go to Hang a Pressure Ball, I can go to any local event, and I'm going to be looking at well-dressed people. I'm going to be looking at the way people carry themselves, and I'm going to be looking at the message that people are trying to display through their fashion, because fashion is very important. And people like to say, oh, I'm not into fashion, I'm not into clothes, but we all make a conscious decision of what we wear every day and what we're trying to convey with that. So even if you spend $10 or $50 on a shirt or $200 on a shirt, it's still a conscious decision of, what am I going to wear? How am I going to present myself? And how are people going to interpret that? And that's why, postmen, police officers, that's why people have uniforms, because there's meaning conveyed through um, fashion and what we put on. Real estate agents, your real estate agent shows up in some horrible clothing and a beat up car. You're not listing my $1 million house. And it's fashion is a very powerful, interesting thing. So even without this career path, ever since a kid, I was very motivated. I was already conscious of it, and I was always interested in it.
You're out and about in Delco and you have a cheesesteak craving. Where are you going for your cheesesteak?
Growing up in Philadelphia, you're raised on cheesesteaks, so I may have a cheesesteak once a year. I've never had a cheesesteak in Delco, so I'm open to all suggestions.
All right. Jim
Yeah.
Pappas, Cheesesteak Adventure. Throw some suggestions out to Brandon and we'll make that once a year happening a thing. Maybe we'll get that photographed and it'll be fun. How about pizza? You going out for pizza in Delco?
Yeah, I actually just went to Havertown Pizza because Halloween just passed, and everywhere I went, lines were out the door. I mean, I made a big mistake waiting last minute to get pizza, and I went to Havertown Pizza, and I walked in. I saw it was crazy. They were very, very busy. I put in an order for two cheese pizzas, and they were like, all right, that'll be probably about 20, 30 minutes or something like that. And I sat down and I pulled my phone out and I started to, mess around with my phone to kill 20 minutes. And they walked up and said, you know what, we bumped your order up. We don't want people just sitting around. Here's two cheese pizzas. And I was like, you know what? You got me. Like I'm coming back. So I think that's going to be my spot.
Halloween, I think, is the second busiest pizza day next to the Super Bowl.
I learned my lesson. But it's interesting because yeah, it was busy everywhere. I mean, everywhere was just 2 hour wait, hour and a half wait, and you can just see the panic in people's faces. And I went in there and it was relatively calm and like they had it under control. Pizza was good too.
You have a convenience store need. Where are you stopping? Wawa or Royal Farms?
And this is going to sound crazy. Is Royal Farms big out here? Because I haven't seen one. I see Wawas everywhere.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Is Royal Farms like real big in Delco?
We'll find out. I don't know. Brandon, what the heck is tomato pie?
It's like pizza with no cheese, right?
I'm going to continue to ask this question until I get a consistent answer because I think I've been asking this now for a little bit and everybody's answer is different. And just as everybody's answer is different to what the heck is tomato pie, the answer is different when I ask people, which I'm going to ask you now. You talk to people, you talk to somebody, and they've never
Mhm.
heard of Delco or has not been here before. How do you describe Delco to somebody who's never heard of it or not been here before?
Well, I mean, I've only been in Delco for 3 years. I grew up in Philadelphia, then lived in New York for a bit, and Delco was just always that town outside of Philly to me. So I'm really starting to learn and experience it now. And Delco is it's interesting. So I mean, I can't answer what Delco is. I live in a Irish Catholic neighborhood, so to me, Delco is very, Irish Catholic. I'm bumping into some people that I used to go to Catholic school with when I was a kid. I'm learning Delco. It's interesting. And Delco's such a big county, right? Like it stretches very far and it's very diverse. So when I figure it out, I'll get back to you.
Well, as you figure it out, your friends or family coming in from out of town and you want to give them or take them to that Delco experience, what is the Brandon Delco experience that you're going to share with them today?
I think my Delco experience is Havertown, so I would maybe take them ice skating and then Brookline, and you have Eagle Road. Very, very limited. Media is nice because Media has the theater, and that seems pretty cool. Yeah. I've seen the show at the theater, so I would definitely take them to the theater.
I like it. We're going ice skating. We're doing a little theater. Throw
Hmm.
in a photography session or two to capture the moments of the day. Brandon, I am grateful for your time today, giving us the opportunity to learn more about you, more about your photography, and grateful that you're a friend of What's Happening Delco. We look forward to you and seeing more of those billboards, seeing more of those photographs and magazines and online that you do to help people with their branding, to help them stand out, to help when people see what you do on that Shopify platform, you're making things pop. So I want to thank you again for that. And we look forward to learning and hearing more about your expanded Delco experiences.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Thank you.
Bye, Rich.
Hey, it's Rich. Thank you so much for being a listener to the What's Happening Delco podcast. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to learn more about the people and businesses in our community. I have been a real estate agent for over 25 years working with first-time home buyers to last-time home sellers. As a listener of the podcast, my gift to you is a complimentary 1-year American Home Shield home warranty. This is for buyers and sellers that I help. If you're looking to move anywhere in the United States, I have you covered with an amazing network of real estate agents. I look forward to hearing from you. My direct line is 215-313-3777, or you can email me at rshaneremax@comcast.net. Oh, by the way, I am never too busy for any of your referrals.